there we go. Okay, this is Peter, the pink polka dotted hippopotamus. That's a mouthful too. There's a desert in Africa called Serengeti, where you hardly can find there a bowl of spaghetti. And that's a shame because we all love spaghetti, right? It's hot and it's dry, and there's vast land to roam, and millions of animals call this place home. There are lions who rule there and eat, getting fat, and zebras who wish they would stop doing that. There's cheetahs, hyenas, such diversity, and the prettiest cranes that you ever did see. But the most special creature that's ever been spotted is Peter, a hippo that's pink polka dotted. Isn't that silly? What do you think? A hippo with polka dots? And more than that, pink. And all that I've seen, and I tell you, that's a lot. I've never seen hippos with pink polka dots. And yet, there he lives. And yet, there he stays. In a small, straw-thatched hut where he spends all his days. He never comes out to play in the sun. Though in his hut, it may heat up to 101. Summer's right around the corner, y'all. We're going to be about sitting there too. But he'll peek through the blinds as he stays on the couch. He'll watch all the animals and say with a slouch, "Gee, that looks fun. All they're playing around. I wish that were me." Then he'll feel his heart pound. He'll stride to his door and tend to walk out. Then turn right around to his bedroom and pout. There's no way a hippo who looks like I do could ever make friends. No, not one or two. I wish I were plainer and braver, a rover, and not a sad hippo with pink dots all over. But one day the sun got so hot in the sky that Peter was desperate. I'm just about to fry. I wish it would rain, yes, even a drizzle. But such as it is, when I sit down, I sizzle. Outside, they're all cool by the watering hole. That seems like paradise. He'd praise and extol. To be with them would be cake and its icing. The fun all looks grand and the water is enticing. Just one dip can't hurt. Oh, that'd be such bliss. But I can't go outside. No, not looking like this. Then Peter said, cocked his head to the side and smirked. Then he grinned. Then the grin got real wide. If you look over his head, I'll tell you, you'd see a light bulb turn on because he got an idea. He sped to his closet as quick as he could, rummaging through, saying, "This'll be good." He kept digging around. He looked in each drawer. Why can't I find here what I'm looking for? He dragged out his dresser, his plays by Shakespeare, then scratched his head, said, "It's gotta be here." He pulled out his trombone, his drum set, kazoo. When you're stuck in your house, then there's lots that you can do. He tossed out a fountain pen that had its tip bent and lots of unused exercise equipment. Seeing his junk, "It's amazing," he posited. How you can forget all the stuff that you closeted Perhaps once I cool down, I'll be a good planner. But hippos aren't known for their neat, tidy manner. And just as he pulled out his jacket adored, he screamed, "There it is!" in the back right-hand corner. "This here will help me be what I ain't," he said as he held up a pale gray paint. He set the pail down just to open its lid, and you won't believe what this hippo then did. He picked it back up. "Here goes," Peter said, and he poured the gray paint on the top of his head. He slathered himself from his snout to his tail. He dripped every drop he could get from the pail. He brushed it around, he smoothed it, and he smeared, and Peter's polka dots all disappeared. His body was gray now. Oh yes, to be sure. Peter looked like nothing he'd had before. "I love how I look. I've never looked drearer," he said as he twirled and then gazed in the mirror. "This color's ideal, not sloppy, not formal. For the first time in ever, I feel like I look normal. A perfect disguise is what this gray paint coat is. The others," he thought, "they won't even notice." Taking a breath, Peter walked out his door, leaving only a few gray footprints on his floor. He walked down his stoop and into the sand of the desert as he gave a wave of his hand. "Hello to all you of the great Serengeti. I'm new here in town, so I'm sure we've not met. As you see, I'm as normal as you can get." His lies were as bad as his paint job was wet. It's hard for a hippo to have nonchalance, but he tried as he waited to hear their response. A few turned their heads, but most stayed chatting. Perhaps he had fooled them, just maybe. Well, had he? Then silence went out across the wide Serengeti, and Peter, he stood there uncertain, and yet he was starting to feel just a little bit prouder, till silence was broken by something far louder. "Ha ha 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 ha!" The animals laughed out with such big guffaws. They rolled on their backs. They clapped with their paws. Never had ever a creature quite got a fuss as the gray paint on this dotted pink hippopotamus. The jackal, composing himself, first spoke up. "What are you thinking? That I'm still a pup? There's a drip on your leg and the paint missed a spot. On the back of your ear, there's a pink polka dot. The gray is all flaking. That's why we're here chafing. We know what you are." And he joined in the laughing. It's a horrible thing if it ever comes true, when your worst fears happen and happen to you. Then Peter, recovering fast from his shock, ran back to his hut and turned tight the lock. He ran to his bedroom and sat in a chair with a dribble of gray that was trailing him there. He sat in the dark amidst all his fears, and the paint on his face became streaked by his tears. Oh, poor thing. What was I thinking? That I'm not a freak? Then Peter was startled when he heard something squeak. He jumped to his chair, which made it collapse. I'm the clumsiest hippo. Then a voice said, perhaps. He looked around him, but no one was there. The small voice continued, "Look under your chair." And out from the mess Peter had made on his floor, a small mouse emerged, whom he'd not met before. "Name's Baxter Asparagus Gravy the Third. I live neath your floorboards. Can we have a word? This boo-hoo-hooing is making it tough for my children to sleep. And if that's not enough, your tears and your paint, they are flooding my house," said Baxter Asparagus Gravy, the mouse. I kind of like that name. What do y'all think? Baxter Asparagus Gravy the Third. "I'm sorry for all that stuff," Peter said, as he sniffed and sniffed with his hands on his head. "But nobody likes me. My heart's gotten sore." And he plopped down right on his trombone on the floor. "I tried to fit in and be one of the herd, but my pink polka dots are too loud and absurd. They all started and gawked at me. What's wrong? Right after they fell over, belly aching with their laughter." Yeah, I don't know what belaying even would be. That's not a word. It says belly aching. "I'm sorry to bother you, but I must cry. There's never been such a sad hippo as I." There, Baxter said, sitting on Peter's knee. "No reason to feel down or weird. Look at me. I have a name that's as silly as any you've heard," said Baxter Asparagus Gravy the Third. "In school, I despised it. I'd need for a rest, and any time I could write it out of taking a test. Folks laughed at me too. They call you bizarre when you've got a name twice as long as you are." But that doesn't matter. My name's part of me, and I'm just as me as there any can be. I'm one of a few with a lineage reverse to Baxter Asparagus Gravy the First. I'm proud of my name, despite its conflicts. Go ask my kids, Baxter the Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth. Then Peter, he sniffed, his teeth still a chatter, but polka dots are quite different matter. You can't see names coming from miles away. Then Baxter stood up. Now hear what I say. You know my name now. Do you think I'm odd? What makes us stand out is the thing to applaud. We all have that something that makes us unique. Lions have manes and cranes a long beak. Hyenas have laughter that makes such a clatter. Rhinos are fat and elephants are fatter. Peter said, but all them share their oddness together. There's no other hippo, a bird of my feather. Look here, Baxter said, as he climbed up on a shelf. For others like you must like yourself. We all deserve, truly, to like ourselves lots, no matter our names or our pink polka dots. Despite all the flooding my house has gone through, I know that I like you and know you can too. We all deserve, oh wait, I was backtracking. It may not be instant. Give it time. It'll take it, and until it's true, then you'll just have to fake it. Then, giving a smile that meant so much more, Baxter turned and went back through his hole in the floor. And as Peter sat there, alone once again, he thought of the day that the havoc they'd been. He picked himself up and brushed off his rump, then stood himself taller and much less a slump. As Baxter's last words echoed still in his ears, he wanted to try again, facing his fears. He walked past the mirror and straight to the door. and shakily went to the handle once more. He thought about Baxter, the wise words he lent him, and then took a deep breath and gathered momentum. He flung wide the door and stepped into the sun to continue the thing he'd earlier begun. The animal silenced, Peter went numb. He then braced himself for exactly what he knew would come. Ha 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 ha! Once again he was horrified. This wasn't nice. The worst thing, he thought, is to face your fears twice. But this time he didn't go running inside. He thought of the mouse, and here's what he tried. He puffed out his chest. He lifted his chin. He faked he felt comfortable in his own skin. And with a big stride, so as not to delay, he started once more to the water that day. He walked the path carefully, taking things slow. He strutted his stuff across the dry grass below. He did scratch his belly, a small issue which he admits was the gray paint that made him feel itchy. And as streams of tears were replaced by sweat, Peter thought, I may get to that water hole yet. The animals laughed on as though they had planned it, but Peter kept walking. I know I'll withstand it. The crane cried, He's back here, that pink polka dot. Keep going, the brave hippo thought. I don't think that'll ever has my life felt frauder, but still on he went down his path to the water. And as his big toe touched the lip of the pool, he sighed with relief. Oh, wow, that feels cool. He kept wading deeper and deep as he pleased, then slipped on a rock and fell down on his knees. Dripping, he stood as the birds turned to scoff, just in time to see that his gray paint had washed off. With nothing around to cover up after, he stood in his glory, accompanied by laughter. And then something happened amidst all their crowing, as Peter just stood there with pink polka dots showing. He didn't back down or tremble or cower. He stood through it all, stepping into his power. They gawked at the formerly gray-painted painter, but though it took minutes, the laughter grew fainter. And when they had stopped every bark, tweet, and bray, proud Peter announced, I have something to say. Too long I have felt shameful, gloomy, and weak by what you can say, by what you call silly, which makes me unique. I know that I'm not ugly, sad, or distraughted. I am what I am, and that's pink polka dotted. And out of the silence left there was, by his solo, a cheetah called out, Can you play water polo? Our center has broken his paw, sad but true. It sure would be nice to have someone like you. Peter could hardly believe what he heard. He smiled at first, but then remembered, I don't know the rules. But your offer is kind, the cheetah said. Shout if you do, change your mind. Though Peter said no, it was great to see a kind face, so he called, Wait for me! He played water polo all day in the sun, and the spots beat the stripes by the score 3-1. Perhaps Peter faked all his feelings to start, but it planted the seed, which then grew in his heart. The seed grew a stem, and then the stem grew deep roots. then a bud, then a flower, then many offshoots. Peter practiced empowerment. Each day he played, and he found over time that his confidence stayed. And today, if you fly overhead with good weather, you'll see all the animals playing together. Amidst the thick manes, the feathers and spots, you'll find there the happiest pink polka dots. And maybe some animals never come round to the new, braver Peter and self-love he found. No matter of them and the tempest they toss, some folks won't like pink polka dots, and that is their loss. We each have our specialness that we're allotted, whether seen or unseen, we're all polka dotted. I hope you embrace yours and fully, because then you'll love yourself like the way Peter does. And the end. Hi, that was Peter the Pink Polka Dotted Hippopotamus.